We're back. We're making sure that you're checking out our newsletter. The link to that is right down below. But this right now, it's time for the picks, and we got a Friday night game at DeBerry on Big Fox. Don't screw this up. Arizona, the Wildcats, are at the Kansas State Wildcats. Arizona is getting 7.5 points. It's actually one of the big games of the weekend on Big Fox Friday night at 8.
Yeah, I don't like that half a point at all, but I'm going to be fun with it. I'm going to take the home team, Kansas State. Tulane is a good team, and I was impressed with Kansas State's come from behind win on the road against Tulane. That's a good team. Arizona's not impressed me at all. I really wish it was 7. I don't like that half a point, Dean, but I'm going to roll with it. Kansas State, big win at home Friday night. I'm going to take those Wildcats.
Yeah, I've got Kansas State as well at home. I don't like Friday night on the road that much. I was expecting Arizona to do a little bit more in those first 2 games. I watched most of that week 1 game against New Mexico. Letting one of those Kyler Murray clones just run around all over you. I don't like that. I'm going with the home Wildcats.
I just want to point out on the screen, I'm going to talk about this a little bit later about what Ryan did last week and what Matt just did and I corrected. Last week, Ryan in his complete wisdom picked the Wildcats to win the game between Texas Tech and Washington State. I'm assuming he meant Washington State. I don't know. We gave him the win there.
Cougars, well, they're Cats, man. I was
But
clearly wasn't picking the Red Raiders.
They're not Wildcats. Had you picked Bobcats like the Brockett Bobcats, I would have had to really come down hard. Matt DeBerry picked the Wildcats minus 7.5. So I've changed that to Kansas State for my sanity. I'm going to go with Arizona. I agree with Matt about the half-point hook. Not a fan. Not a fan at all. We visited Milwaukee this summer. That was a fun trip to Chicago and then Milwaukee. Now Alabama is going to go up to Wisconsin. That's going to be a challenging game, but I'm not fooled at all. Wisconsin's not looked good so far this season, Ryan. I will take Alabama and the 15 points on the road. Cool town, Milwaukee. I know Madison's not Milwaukee, but nonetheless, I think Alabama recovers a little bit this week.
Yeah, I think so too. And this is not the type of team that's going to give Alabama some real problems, I think, on the road. That's my take there. They're going to be too physical. I think Alabama tries to reestablish the run game, go up and just get out of there with the win. That's the most important thing in these scenarios. Great atmosphere up there in Madison. I don't know about the noon o'clock atmosphere, but I think Alabama bounces back. They don't go in there and blow them out of the water, but 15 points is nothing crazy.
Yeah, I think Alabama learned a lot about themselves with the real struggle against South Florida, which is what it was. Wisconsin's got this new air raid offense going on. They're just not ready for this Alabama team, who I think is coming up to maybe prove a point a little bit. I think a late cover in the fourth quarter, Alabama cruises to a nice little win up there.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a great look, though. I expect Alabama to look better.
Okay.
But they got to prove it. We'll be monitoring that game, probably watching some of it from Knoxville on our journeys. Ryan, South Carolina is getting college game day because Kentucky screwed up this past week. They are hosting the Bayou Bengals for an 11 o'clock kick for LSU's bodies. It will be a noon kick with Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler on the call. Carolina is a 7-point dog at home. What do you think about this game?
I think it's kind of sad that the choice was between this game and the Georgia game for game day. I guess it's going to be a dry week. I don't like this game. I just don't. I'm taking LSU because I think they're more talented, but I don't like the road, going on the road and taking away the 7 point. I don't like it, but I'm taking LSU.
Yeah, I think LSU's just a little better. It's just 7, right? A half a point there. I might lean South Carolina's way, but I think LSU can win this game by a touchdown. I think they're just the better team, and I'm not going to be over dramatic about South Carolina's really nice win on the road at Kentucky. I'm not completely buying into them just yet. I like Nussmeier, and I think there's just too much talent for the LSU Tigers. They'll put up some points on the road still. I'm going to take LSU to cover.
All right, give me them Gamecocks. Here's why. Man, I don't like LSU right now. They've not played well 2 weeks in a row. Carolina's not. Look, 3 of these 4 games these guys have played have not been impressive. Give me the touchdown. It's I'll be okay. I don't like either. I'm kind of like Ryan. I don't really like this game at all. I do like this one though, Ryan. I'll let you go first. The Boston College Eagles are going to go to Middle Earth to play Missouri. This is one of the two matchups between ranked teams we already talked about Friday night. This one's going to be a John Stinchcomb. Wait, Matt Stinchcomb special at 12:45. I was not joking. I was serious. I got confused about those two for a second there. This is a 12:45 SEC Network. If you had the SEC Network getting one of the ranked games this week, congratulations. Number 24, Boston College, getting 16 points at Missouri, who looked pretty good so far.
Yeah, I think Missouri is definitely a top 10 team, and I think they're probably going to hold on to that for pretty much the whole season just because the schedule's not super tough. I like Missouri here. I like the minus 16. I think that Boston College, another team with a Kyler Murray clone just running around out there. They're starting to just sprout up all of a sudden. They're fun. I picked them to beat Notre Dame or whenever that was. I guess week 1.
Monday week 1? I don't know
Monday
what that's called. 1.1?
Yeah. Gets confusing with that week 0 stuff. But I think Missouri's too tough at home. It looks like their defense, who lost its best players to the NFL last year, three guys, could be better already. Even though they haven't played tough competition, we'll learn a little bit more about them. But I think that they do cover this.
I think Boston College can somewhat match them from a physicality standpoint. I was really impressed with how they played Florida State. But a couple tune-up games to start the season, I think Missouri is going to be ready for this one. Their first challenge, too much talent at home. I think they'll get the job done. I think they're a really good team. Close game for maybe a half into the third quarter, but I think Missouri takes over late in that second half with a late cover, Dean.
Boston College, physical, well-coached, dynamic quarterback from South Georgia, very good player. BC really wrecked, I think it was Duquesne this past week. Does anyone know where Duquesne is?
Ohio?
I believe it's in Philadelphia, but I could be wrong about that. Someone can look that up while we're wrapping here. I got Missouri. I think Missouri 100% could wind up in the SEC championship game. They got to handle some business. They totally can beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa. This game used to be called the Civil War, not anymore. Now that Oregon State doesn't have a league to play in, Ryan. The Beavs are The Beavs are hosting the Ducks, who have not looked great, but number 9 Oregon is a 14-point favorite on Big Fox at 3:30.
Yeah, I think Oregon bounces back in this one. It has been surprising through 2 weeks, to say the least. I think a lot of people are penciling in Oregon as the third best team in college football behind Georgia and Ohio State preseason. Obviously, preseason stuff is not always accurate, but this Oregon team has the talent. I do think they bounce back. I've got the Ducks against an Oregon State team. I mean, it's sad what's going on. What's going to happen to the Cougars and the Beavers? Right? Not the Wildcats. I mean, where do they go?
Wow.
The ACC?
Are we having this discussion? I'll be glad to. I mean, I don't think it's out of the question that they wind up in the ACC. I don't think it's out of the question they wind up. The Big 12 makes the most sense, Matt, but they're just chilling for the time being, and Duquesne is in Pittsburgh, for the record. I said Philadelphia. That's my fault.
Yeah, the only thing Oregon State has is this game to beat Oregon at home. I'd be very disappointed in the Beavers if they let their biggest rival come in and whoop them in basically their biggest game of the season. What else are they playing for? It's this game, 14 points at home. Jameis Griffin is their running back. He played at Rome. He's a dog post guy, really good player. I'm going to keep an eye on that. And I think Oregon State keeps this one close. This is a heated rivalry. Yeah. And 14 points at home, I'll take the Beavers, and I'll be very disappointed if they don't cover.
Yeah, so the rest of their season is at Purdue, Colorado State. They both visit Corvallis. And then you've got a trip to Nevada. You host UNLV. You go to Cal. You host San Jose State. You go to Air Force, and then you play Wazoo at home, and then you go to Boise to end the thing, which is actually not the end of the world, to be honest with you. Now that's a 9:00 in the morning game is totally unacceptable at Boise, but you're receiving Matt's point. Yeah, look at Matt's face. 9:00. As someone who advocates for 9:00 kickoffs at Sanford, I am all about that. I mean, I am. I'll be there at 6:00 in the morning. I want to see if Carson Beck can perform at 9:15. You know what I mean? I'll take the Ducks here, and here's why. I'm missing something here. I'm kind of like Matt. I would take Oregon State in 14 points, but when Vegas has got it at 14, I feel like I don't know what I'm talking about, which, if you ask my in-laws, is commonplace during the holidays. Texas A&M is going to Florida as a 3.5-point favorite. The Aggies, this is an important game for both teams. I think this is kind of make or break for the Gators with Billy Napier. I am going to take the points. 3.5 points for your Gators. Matt, tell me why I'm wrong.
Yeah, I went back and forth on this one because of that half point. That half point's driving me nuts there because I can definitely see A&M just squeaking one out, winning with a late field goal, and that's it. But they don't have a quarterback. Florida's got some quarterback issues. I don't know, I just think Texas A&M is just stingy enough on defense to gather some points and win by 4 or more. So even in the swamp, I think A&M will be okay, squeaking out a win. I'm going to take them to cover, though. Might be dumb because of the half point, but I'll take Aggies 3.5.
Yeah, I like this one even less than the LSU South Carolina game, and I'm taking Florida because of how Texas A&M burned me in week 1. I'm not going to let that one go. Letting Notre Dame go into your house, Riley Leonard not throw for a touchdown in that game, and they still won by double digits. It's embarrassing. So I got Florida at home. I think last in the future, but
you froze. So keep rolling. Sorry, you froze for a second there.
I froze
just for a second. Keep rolling.
Like a smidge. Yeah, you're good.
It's a tough day. It's a tough day when you're picking the Gators. That's who I got.
Listen, it's going to be tough out there if you don't have the CW. Matt, do you have an antenna at your house where you can just pick this game up? It's probably on like a sub channel for WSB or something like that. Wake Forest, the number 5 team in the country, is playing on the CW. They are a 23.5-point favorite at Wake Forest. Easy Ed Orgeron would never be in this situation of having to play on the CW at Ole Miss. Never.
What game are we talking about again? Who's playing at Wake Forest?
How could you possibly not be confused? Number 5 Ole Miss is a 23-point favorite at Wake Forest, but I'm fascinated with the fact that you might have to have an antenna to watch this game.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the old shows that were on the CW. Is that like Family Matters?
Steve Harvey show off the top of my head.
I get that mixed up with like WGN in Chicago and those two stations.
Man, let me tell you something. I wore out WGN and the Cubs in the middle of the day in the summer in 1987 in Tucker, Georgia. It was bad. Like, we would pay for pizza with coins. Like, that's where we were at. But go ahead. I digress.
Ole Miss is going to keep rolling, Ryan. Too much offense. That's a program that likes to really rub it in and throw up some style points because that's a team that needs it, especially if they want to get into this playoff and they're right around that 10 to 12 range. They're going to look at these games and say, oh, okay, remember when Ole Miss just crushed Wake Forest with those style points? That might help them out. So I'm going to take Ole Miss to go in and try to run up the score on them if they can.
I completely agree with you. I think that they're going to try to blow teams out as much as they can in these types of games. I think that continues this week. They're a numbers team, right? They're putting up big stats. I think they do it again against the team. They should do it against them.
Yeah, so Wake Forest collapsed last week to the Wahoos and giving up 30 points to Virginia at the end of that game. That was nasty. Ole Miss doesn't need anybody to collapse to score points. They are not physically ready for what's coming right at them. Give me the Rebels to cover. I'm not saying it's my lock of the week, but I'm not saying it either. So Georgia travels to the Bluegrass. It's not blue. Ryan, the Dogs are a 24-point favorite on the road in the SEC. We've seen this lately. That is a big line, but they're a 24-point favorite. ABC primetime 7:30.
These Georgia spreads are impossible, man. I mean, this is right around where I want to score it. This is live. I have not made my choice, but I think I'm going to go. I think they cover the spread on this one. I think Georgia does it. South Carolina would have covered this spread last week up in Lexington, and that's embarrassing. There's no reason for us to believe that it's going to be any easier for Kentucky when they've got Georgia on the other side of the ball with way better athletes, way better players, and better coaching, and they know the ins and outs of the quarterback that they have to face. Obviously Brock Vandagriff knows some Georgia secrets, but Kirby Smart and the rest of the staff are going to outsmart him.
Yeah, I think if Georgia does not give up a touchdown, they're going to cover the spread. I'm thinking like a 31-6, 34-6 type of game. I think when Georgia gets up comfortably, third and fourth quarter, it's going to be a situation where they run, they get the game over with. It's been over since the half, right, and they get out of there. But I think it's a cover, but I don't think Georgia's going to, score at will the entire game. They'll get into the 30s. But if they can hold Kentucky to, a fourth straight opponent to not score a touchdown on them, which would be really something, I think they'll end up covering pretty well. So I'm going to take Georgia to win by like 25-26. Pretty comfortable win, but I'm going to take Georgia to cover, Dean.
Couple of problems here with this game. A, it's going to be a weather game, or at least it looks like it's going to be a weather game. So some of us are not giant fans of that. That's A. B, then you've got the way that Kentucky's played this season. And, you can get confused by that if you think about it too much. They did not look good against Southern Miss. They did not look good against South Carolina. Is it that they're going to gussy up and play their best game because ABC's in town? Or is it that they're just going to get steamrolled? Yeah, I see Matt's look, which I just think Georgia's – The problem for Kentucky and probably a lot of people that are on Georgia's schedule, including the big three that they're going to play with, Alabama, Texas, Ole Miss, and Tennessee, that big four really, is that Georgia may slump some, but not for 60 minutes. And I think that this is going to be – I don't like 24, but, man, I've watched Kentucky enough, bro. They can't do much on offense. And it's just a matter of time before Georgia gets you're saying 35 – 34, Matt. I'm saying 44 is not out of the question. I mean, I just wonder. I see your eyebrows. I just wonder. What are we at here?
No rain after. It's just in the morning.
Listen, so I was going to check it out.
Dry.
I was going to check it after this. I'm bringing rain gear because I know how this can go. But if there's no rain, that makes it even worse for Kentucky in my mind. And I think Georgia's going to lose a regular season game. Or, excuse me, I should say, I suspect Georgia will lose a regular season game. For me, it's looking like Texas. I'm not certain of that even yet. Texas has shown that they can play really well once and then regress to the mean. Georgia's not done that a lot over time. But as it relates to this Kentucky game, they're not going to regress to the mean. They're going to go – their mean is not good. Their mean is mean. If you know anything about statistics, that's not a good thing. And so, Georgia, I expect to be exactly who and what they are. And you can find out more about that with our newsletter. Matt DeBerry is going to have his sauce from the box immediately after the game. Before the game, Ryan's got 5 for Friday. Don't miss out on all this free content from our newsletter. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the newsletter. Bye.